So I have a former coworker at GameStop who keep in touch with. He's good friends still. Yada yada yada. And they have recently hired a guy who they said interviewed very well, very well. But turns out he's a complete idiot. And he sends me a picture, and I was like, so he's eating Chef Boyardee for his lunch, cold, out of the can.
Oh,
And sends me like a picture with him, like, taking it, sneaking a picture of it. And I'm like, does he know that there's a microwave right beside him?
wait, time
How is it more convenient?
Wait. He told you that it's more convenient for him to eat it that way. That's what he said?
Yeah, to not microwave it, to just eat it straight out of the can. I was curious if either of you knew someone or, personally could top it, because I don't think you can, personally.
I do not.
I mean,
Yeah,
my niece does mustard on watermelon, but I hear that's a little more regular than old ravioli out of a can.
Out of a
I
can.
mean, that's weird. You can tell this guy does this regularly. Like, he just has that look about him.
Yeah.
I get you got like a can of like, the fruit,
Canned fruit, like peaches or
the
something.
canned
Yeah,
fruit
yeah.
or something. Yeah, I get that.
Cold
But
pizza,
there's-
like people will eat cold pizza.
Oh,
I
yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
But
You
straight
generally
out
heat it.
cold
It's been
ravioli?
at least the pizza's
It's
been heat.
cooked.
At least the pizza's been cooked first, like before. Like, ain't nobody pulling the frozen pizza and is like, let me thaw this and get a slice.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Gaming Trend Podcast, the official podcast of GamingTrend.com. My name is Anthony Shelton, and I am joined by David Burdett
Hello there.
and Noah Rigsby.
Hi there. Hello.
In this podcast, we talk about the biggest games of the week, games in our backlog we should have played a long time ago, and what you need to play. Guess what? We finally have games now. All three of us. This is great. So we'll talk about One Piece Odyssey. David did a preview for Tchia, and I have some thoughts on KartRider Drift. But before we get into all of that, we got some good news to talk about. And it's not good news. We just
not
have
really good.
good stories. Stuff
Spicy.
to talk about. Spicy stuff. Yeah. So, David, go ahead. Take it away.
Well, I guess the easiest thing to start off with is Microsoft laying off 10,000 employees. That is never good in general, but this also includes developers from 343 and Bethesda. Not to mention, we've heard that it also includes people from the Coalition. So, yeah, that
I didn't know
IGN
that part.
reported that. So, we found out that Joseph Staten, the one who was brought in to save Halo Infinite, he's not even going to be there anymore. He went back to Xbox Publishing, and the campaign team specifically at 343 seems to have been gotten hard with some of the different corroborations that I have seen. It is upwards of 140 people at 343 that have lost their jobs, a third of their workforce.
Didn't know there was a number on that. Okay.
Yep. So
Wow.
lots of really bad things going on in that studio. That studio specifically. Obviously, any of the studios, any of these jobs, I definitely express my condolences to any developer, any of these people who've lost their jobs, because losing your job sucks. There's nothing like it. I've been blessed to largely not be worried about that. And, I can't imagine to be like, especially there's somebody I actually met from Microsoft in one of my trips to E3 that been with them for 15 years and is now looking for work. So it's just hard to fathom all that's going on. But, it is affecting more than just the gaming side, but obviously we focus on the gaming side. So I'm sure there's plenty of thoughts going around on all of this.
Yeah, and imagine like I would put money on it that that was something that they were given zero notice on. It was probably they logged in to their computer and got an email, whether they were remote or office, got a, you know, a fun morning email saying, "Hey, we're letting you go." That's never a good thing for anybody.
No, not at all. All right. So I'm kind of the Xbox guy here, right? So I have 3 takeaways about this. Number 1, Xbox is dysfunctional. I'm done defending them. There's nothing else to defend at this point. There's too many stories. There's too many anecdotes. 343, the initiative, Rare, Lionhead, which is closed. I wouldn't be surprised at this point if Turn 10 had some issues because we haven't heard anything about Forza Motorsport in a while.
Yeah.
I'm done defending them. Okay. There's not enough accountability. There isn't. I work for an organization that largely lets us, kind of do what we do. They're not breathing down your back. They're not helicoptering over you, but they will eventually hold you accountable for the decisions that you make, whether they're good or bad. So I figured had to be similar with Microsoft, who is a humongous organization with hundreds of thousands of employees. But it's clear upper management didn't do their job. I don't usually like to make sports examples because I know a lot of people don't pay attention to sports, but to me, this feels like the Los Angeles Lakers right now. You have greatness in LeBron. Joseph Staten was LeBron for 343. Okay. You had greatness there. But the reason why the Lakers aren't working right now is because the team chemistry isn't there. It's not because they don't get along because of their personalities. It's because their play styles don't work together. And whose fault is that? It's the general manager, the one who put the team together. And guess what? The Lakers got to go out there on that court and figure out how to win with a bunch of dysfunction. And at the end of the season, who gets the blame? It's either the coach or the players. And so it's management's fault. And they, for 343, and they decide to lay off a bunch of people who did nothing but work their tail off trying to function within dysfunction.
Yep.
It's terrible. Number 2, Halo Infinite at this point. It's clear it's a dud. And I hate saying that, but
Oh, I hate it too. Because
it is.
the bones is so good of the game.
Yes.
The bones of the game are great.
Very much
Shows
so.
the passion.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
the
at
talent.
this point, it's a dud. It's not going anywhere from here. You don't lay off staff from the developer who holds your golden goose. That's not how that works. Halo's supposed to be your flagship franchise, and you lay off people in the midst of them trying to rebuild, not even rebuild. I guess that's not the proper way to say it, but
Steady the ship, maybe.
steady. Perfect.
Correct,
That's
of
the perfect way
course.
to put it. Yes. So Microsoft, by laying off these people, is saying Halo Infinite is a dud. Move on. I'm not saying 343 is not going to create anymore, but you're not going to produce better stuff faster with less resources. That's just not how that's going to work. I mean, kudos to Game Informer, right? They had layoffs. They're still producing content, and it's good content. But game development is very different. And now they're trying to do a live service with less resources. And one of the complaints about 343 in the first place was what? It's too slow. Now they have less to work with, less people to work on the stuff. How much faster is it going to be?
Yep.
So at this point, I feel like Halo Infinite's going to be like Overwatch 1 before Overwatch 2 came out, where there was hardly anything happening with it because they were working so hard on Overwatch 2. In this case, Halo Infinite, now that they ain't got the story beat stuff going on because Joseph Staten is gone, I hoped that maybe there was enough bones there for the story stuff to maybe they just need to execute it, create it, put it in place so that way they could release it. But apparently they didn't even get far enough for that to happen. So that's not going to happen at all. So now they have very little or nothing to work with. So now they have to figure out what are they going to do with less resources for a live service game.
Yep.
It's not a good spot. This is very sad. I don't think the multiplayer is going to come back in a significant way. I hear a single player will be, they'll work on a single player, new Halo single player later, which means the multiplayer will likely stay as a free-to-play game, and they'll just kind of iterate on this. I'm fine with that, but it won't be close to what it could have been at this point ever. I mean, maybe it could get revived when the BR comes out, if there is a BR, or maybe when that single player launches. Cool, but it's never going to reach its heights at this point. Last takeaway, and I don't usually like calling for people's jobs, whether I'm talking about sports or whether I'm talking about video games. I get it. It's not classy. It sounds extreme. Whatever. Fire Matt Booty. I'm not saying he didn't do anything good, but just getting Halo Infinite out is not good enough. The lack of accountability costs the company money, and it costs people's jobs. Maybe inflation would have, cost people's jobs anyway. I know other tech companies have been laying people off, but my goodness, you cut where it's not working. Apparently, Microsoft was like, "Hey, this isn't working." So Matt Booty was either too distracted or not good enough to hold 343 accountable. So we're seeing problems with the initiative. We've seen problems with Rare. Doesn't matter about those other developers that are already doing good because they were already doing good before Microsoft bought them. Mojang, Bethesda, Double Fine, Obsidian, id, Arcane, Playground Games. They were already doing fine. So you can't take credit for soaking them up when they were already stable. So that's on Matt Booty. And then it's not going to get any easier because you're trying to buy Activision. So Matt isn't handling the studios that are directly under his care, the ones that they didn't even buy. Of course, I know he's still caring over the ones they did buy, but you're not taking care of those. You fumbled your baby, and then you're going to give him more? No. Go get somebody else. I would have come for Bonnie Ross too, but she bounced. So, all right, I'm done.
She saw the issues. She saw the cracks.
She pulled
in
a
the
Pete
foundation.
Carroll at USC. He was like, nope, I'm gone.
Yeah, and I don't blame you in the slightest for all that you're saying because I kind of already said some of the things
you did
when I talked about management. It's what we see it, and we're starting to see a lot of it slip through the cracks because a lot of former Halo devs are starting to talk on some of this. Apparently, one who now works on Apex Legends, Tyler Owens, said, "As a Halo fan, this is a direct quote, I'm really tired of Microsoft's business practices and policies slowly killing the thing I love. Between the contracting policies they abuse for tax incentives and layoffs in the face of gigantic profits and executive bonuses, they set Halo up for failure." And honestly, that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Beyond the fact of if you want to go look at somebody else, Patrick Wren, I believe I shared that actually when we were having our initial thoughts on some of this stuff, and he said that the reason that Halo Infinite is in a bad spot and the layoffs happen is because of incompetent leadership. So it's just bad.
Yeah, it's not a good look at all. Like laying off all of these employees while you're in the middle of, the biggest acquisition. It's not a good look. And I've said it, referencing the Ubisoft, however you say it, when that whole drama was going down, that its responsibility is from the top down. And until they recognize that, I'm worried that this isn't the end. I'm worried about what happens next. Are there going to be more? Is there going to be another huge layoff? It's just kind of scary to think because it just came out of blue. So what else, are they cooking up that we just don't know about yet?
Well, you throw things under the guise of we're reorganizing. That
restructuring.
Yeah, restructuring. Yeah,
that
that doesn't work. And you're about to add one of the biggest costs in the industry. At least you're trying to, because honestly, if I'm the FTC, CMA, and the EU, I'm licking my chops right now. Because what am I able to present in court? That they just laid off 10,000 people in the midst of adding 10,000 more people. And that suddenly they couldn't afford all those people, but yet they can somehow afford a $70 billion acquisition. Like, all these IPs that they want to redo. Not if you don't have the people to do them. Not if you're mismanaged. If you're showing your management is this bad, I mean, at least Activision's dropping a COD every year.
Yeah. And they'll do whatever it takes to drop that COD. Like,
Yep.
they will bring in 20 studios if it means getting a solid product out.
Yep.
They I mean their earnings call is coming pretty soon. So I imagine this is a measure they took beforehand to I don't know if it's to please investors. I don't I don't know. But
Are they saving for their bottom line, like for Q4? Like, I don't know.
yeah, for
the
sure.
The worst thing automatically is when you see all that, like when you see Nintendo, where dude literally says Wii U underperforms, I'm taking a pay cut, but here, all the executives get bonuses. Like this is where it's ridiculous.
Yeah. But yes, I'm sure this is about the bottom line.
Yep.
So this is about how do we get the most to the shareholders and things. I get it. You're a publicly traded company. I'm just saying go about it differently.
Yep.
You lay off people from the studio for your flagship franchise. And this is how you treat it. Okay, we see where you're at. This is not your flagship franchise anymore. You're moving on from Halo as the thing. Game Pass is your golden goose now. And that's fine. But it's unfortunate that other people who worked so hard to get this thing out, probably there was some crunch involved, now gotta go because y'all mismanaged it. That's ugly.
And here's a direct quote from Phil Spencer back in August of 2011. If we lose our way with Halo, we lose our way with Xbox. Xbox does not have the IP, the branding to keep itself big when they lose Halo. Halo is their biggest brand. It should never have come to this. It should have been treated with more respect. I'm not giving that on 343 as much as I am, because it sounds like there was a lot of passion people, as much as I am on the management of it. Because one of them, there was actually let me see if I can find the actual quote, but somebody said they felt like they were gaslit. They said, having been run through, it was Zara Varin, who was a former employee, said, having been run through that contractor cycle for nearly 6 years. Can you imagine contractor for 6 years on that? Not an employee, contractor.
Yeah.
It always felt like being gaslit to hear how much leadership cared about us and our opinions, but seldom invited it where it felt like it would do the most good to make a difference, and we'd get conciliatory inaction.
Conciliatory, yep.
I mean, it's awful. It's awful to see what should be, like you said, flagship getting nothing. Like, it's not getting treated correctly. And what's even more worrisome is it sounds like, rumor-wise, they're planning to license off the Halo IP to studios to make things. Like, it not in sense of like it's going to go to like PlayStation or something like that. That's not going to happen. But
that's when Mario
having
gets
someone
licensed off by Ubisoft. Hey, you can use this for Mario plus Rabbit,
or having someone make a Halo game for you as opposed to your own internal. But to me, that shouldn't ever be the case. No. You should not have that. To me, it almost loses its soul to a degree, because that is your game. That is not anyone else. You should be the one taking care of this. It's fine for other people, like the Halo BR, to come from somebody else or whatnot. But man, make your game. Make the game. Let your people who built this IP build it.
Yep. This was supposed to be like, the Great Reset, like the next evolution of Halo. And it's you had one job, and it was to not mess it up. Not pointing at the devs, just getting the product out this in a positive and solid manner. You had one job, and it's just completely 180 of what it was supposed to go.
They were set up to fail.
Yep. And that's from day one because of them having to work on that new engine. It should have just been on Unreal.
I don't mind them having to work on the new engine, but set them up for success. Don't put
Yeah.
demands on them
Well,
that
if you're
are
contracting
unreasonable.
people, if you're contracting people and you're using a new engine, then that's just silly in the first place. Because contractors, like, they're not going to know your engine, your internal engine. If you make them employees, then they can take that and continue with your engine and making it better. It makes no sense. I guess that's really what all of this boils down to, is it makes no sense.
Just,
Like, and that's why, like you said, someone needs to be held responsible for it, because it makes no sense in a time frame where you should be at the top. We had that pandemic boom. Instead, we're barely over a year into the Halo Infinite development cycle, and we've already lost a third of the team behind it. You got 9 years, almost 9 years left that you said you're supporting this game. We're gonna be lucky we get 3 or 4.
What content are they going to get now? Like, are they just going to be doing like winter updates, summer updates twice a year? Like, I don't.
If it becomes like Overwatch, you'll get an update here and there, and it'll just kind of keep sadly going on.
So, do you think Halo dies now as a franchise?
No.
That it won't die, but I'll tell you this: it's going to be a while before we get a full on another reboot, because you have to reboot from here. That there is no continuing Infinite. Like, you have to find out how to. Yeah, I just mean that you're not going to have an Infinite 2. Like, you're going to have to find a way to restart this franchise again. Because Infinite was supposed to be the restart, and it flopped, and you cannot keep. And it's mainly because you can't keep yourself associated with it at this point. Because of that fact, you have to take those bones and try to build something new, brand new, with some great people behind it, and that's the only way you're going to be able to do it. But it's going to be years. I mean, you're talking, we could be 5-6 years down the line again without another Halo, before we get another Halo, and that sucks. Like, just the thought we may get to another console cycle, and we just went through that with the Xbox One.
Especially when you think like how long dev time takes now. If you start from the ground up, you're looking at least a 4 to 5 year cycle.
That's at least.
Yeah,
because even established studios at this point take 4 to 5 years most of the time.
It's
not everybody's Insomniac, not everybody's Obsidian.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, what else we got?
We also have the other fun news of a battle pass found in a leaked screenshot from Suicide Squad. And the UI looks... So somebody made a comment, and they said, I looked at this screenshot, and at first I thought I was looking at Call of Duty. And then I noticed the big shark. To which I made a joking comment of, in all fairness, a big shark wouldn't necessarily mean this isn't Call of Duty. And they were like, wait, is there a shark operator? I was like, nah, but they had in Vanguard, they had King Kong and Godzilla, so ain't too far off. They're gonna do a team up with Jaws next, I guess.
Yeah, there's some studio dev is just like, write that down.
How can we manipulate this picture so that we don't get sued? We know that this is true because at first it was like, this is leaked from 4chan. It's like, this might not be correct since it's from 4chan. Then VGC confirmed it, and then copyright strikes started taking it down. As soon as copyright strikes start coming in, it's probably real. So I guess some of the questions, that I have with this really is one of the main ones is, what kind of game are we getting from Suicide Squad? Like, I thought I had somewhat of an idea, but now that we're pushing at this whole live service thing, it's like, what are we getting out of them? Because battle passes aren't necessarily, at least in my mind, they aren't good for everything.
No, they're not. we talked about it a little bit, earlier, David and I. Are they gonna, content cycle this like Marvel's Avengers? Because that was not good
You
at
don't want
launch.
to. You don't want to be in the same breath as Marvel's Avengers.
Like what's their goal? And them copywriting it down, it makes me think, it's already out there. Why are you wanting to take it down? Are you not confident, in the product before it even launches? Like I don't understand the thought process. But it's scary. I'm more nervous about it now than I was previously.
Yeah.
Much more skeptical.
Well, and we hadn't seen a lot of gameplay from Suicide Squad yet. We had one major trailer with gameplay, and then we've had, I think, 2 to maybe 3 just cutscene CGI trailers.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew kind of a little bit of what it looked like, and at first I was thinking, oh, this is an open world co-op game. So this is built by Rocksteady. This should be fun. But then like everybody's looking at that battle pass. I'm looking over there and seeing chapter select. I'm like, wait just a second. I know it's not a precursor to this being non-open, but to me a chapter select, if it's part of the final build, that means that this is mission based. So you're going to be in areas. Like they may be open, but it's areas. Like chapter selects don't usually exist in a lot of open world games, at least in my experience, because it's all mission based on you completing things through this open map how you want to. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that. That's just what I'm thinking, but and maybe it's a function to help get everybody on the same page so that everybody's in the same mission, but it just seems like the wrong way to build this game. Especially when Gotham Knights just came out and has pretty good, actually co-op's one of the best parts of that game because it's drop in, drop out. So I don't understand some of this stuff, because especially if it's not open, then why are you making it these closed level? It's even more similar to Marvel's Avengers. And once again, that's not exactly what you want to be compared with, even though I'm on the side of, I think Marvel's Avengers are a bit better than people think, but I also don't think it's it's not what people want, obviously.
Yeah, if I'm designing a game and designing like the content structure and the layout, the last thing I'm going to do is look at Marvel's Avengers and be like, we should do something similar to that. It's just not. It's not a good source material to structure your game around.
I don't have a problem with Marvel's Avengers and how they structured their game. It was whether the game was good or not, and it was not great. I thought the campaign was fine.
Yeah.
It was the stuff afterwards that was super questionable. But a chapter select, there's a couple of ways that could be handled. So I know Halo Infinite, they patched in a way to select specific missions that you want to replay, even though it's an open world game. If they're doing something like that, fine. I'm okay with that. That is no different than Destiny, that acts as an open world game until you select a specific mission, like a raid or something else, or strike mission or something else, where it does become linear. So as long as it's fun, I don't care how I play the levels. It's entirely possible to be in an open world and then go, you know what? I just want to do this specific mission again. That was fun. And if you don't want to do that and just explore the open world, I feel like that option could be there. I'm fine with that. The battle pass, that is weird, because it does change the dynamic of like what this game is. I'm totally in agreement with you guys that it is concerning about, okay, what is this game then? Because you're trying to read the context clues. You're trying to look at the chapter select. You're trying to look at, okay, what are talents? This looks like a tree type of thing. It sounds like it could be a tree. So that means there's got to be enough available to level up and do these different things and get stuff. But what's the battle pass then going to do? Is it gameplay altering stuff? Is it just cosmetics? Like, do I get extra buffs to tree abilities, talents,
XP boosts,
XP boosts.
which could also be sold on the side.
Yeah, so it makes it interesting. I don't care. Like, if it turns out to be like it's a battle pass, we're just trying to figure out how to make a single player game stretch monetarily. Fine, you're a publicly traded company. You're trying to do that kind of stuff. I get it. In that case, I don't care. I can not buy it, and as long as the game is good, fine. I'm fine with that. But yeah, you don't we're all guessing now. Like, is this the thing that we think? Because if the battle pass is just a part of the single player, doesn't really influence the game itself, all right, cool. Sucks because you can feel we're trying to suck the money.
Yeah.
It's just like it's one of the it doesn't feel good. But if it doesn't really impact the quality of the rest of the game, all right. I imagine there's a separate team, hopefully actually communicating with the original team, unlike Halo Infinite, that that will make it so the, I guess, gameplay team, for lack of a better way to put it, isn't bogged down in trying to figure out how to make this battle pass worth buying into, whatever the case may be.
Which might be why this game has taken like 8 years to come out.
Right. So,
but
yeah,
I told Noah today, I was like, why is this in this game? Because they had a perfect game that released in October of last year that a battle pass would have made more sense to me about, and it's called Gotham Knights. Like, I actually would have understood that, I feel like, more than this, even with them pushing like some of the live stuff with it. Like, it would have made more sense.
Yeah, I agree. I'm finding out more and more that game development is really like just your regular old job. Like, they could be in the middle of development and somebody's going, hey guys, okay, we're kind of hurting right now, so we need to figure out a way to put something in. Can we do a battle pass? Can we make that work? Oh, that probably would have been better for Gotham Knights.
Yeah.
Fine. We'll figure it out for Suicide. Sure. All right. And here we are. Like, it could have been that mundane and boring in terms of like how this thing is implemented. But, I don't. Does it look like it works? No. I just hope it doesn't impact the game, because it does look interesting.
Yeah, Rocksteady, though, even with all of this being said, even if everything turns out kind of fine overall, Rocksteady has fumbled the bag as hard as a dev can possibly fumble the bag, because you took one of the most successful superhero IPs and made 3 extremely successful money, especially monetarily, games out of it. And then you decided, let's do something else instead of Arkham 4, which would have made a crap ton of money. And you put it all into Suicide Squad, which is not even close to a bigger IP than anything else that is being. I mean, you could have gone with Superman, you could have gone with Flash. You chose Suicide Squad. I'm not saying it's not a popular IP. I'm just saying other things will sell bigger. There are plenty of things DC has that will sell bigger than Suicide Squad. You pick that, and then you add live service stuff to it, which not only doesn't look good to people, but it took you 8 years to do this.
Took 8 years to make that screenshot.
It took 8 years.
I never want to.
You fumbled this. You fumbled. The leads of the studio are leaving. This is what makes it even more frustrating and more worrisome is, oh crap, now we got even more context to this game that has been behind closed doors as to what it is. And now I'm starting to attribute that to these guys leaving.
No, I get why you go with that story. I never want to attribute, like,
and it could be nothing.
It could be. But it also could be something.
It
I
just
never want to like fault a developer for trying
Oh
to
yeah.
do something new. And
No, no, no,
maybe
no.
at the time they conceptualized the Suicide Squad game, maybe it was like, hey, we're doing Suicide Squad movies, we're doing merch, we're doing whatever. Let's try to make a Suicide Squad game and see
Yeah.
how that goes. And it could have started great with great intentions. We've seen the trailers. There's something there. Like you can watch a trailer and be like, yeah, there's no meat on this bone at all. There's something there. So
Yeah.
maybe by the 6th year, it was like, we're kind of struggling with this one. Maybe it was taking longer than it should have, so now it's lost steam. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I don't want to fault them for
Yeah.
even trying it instead
Oh,
of
for
going with
sure.
Batman Arkham.
yeah.
But
I just
it just feels like a fumble in the end of just because it shouldn't have taken. It really should not have taken this long.
Go ahead, Noah.
And you,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, my thing is like I just do devs like I know that they have bills to pay and stuff like that. I just it felt unneeded for this kind of a game with how they were presenting it to us. Like if you would have told me that Suicide Squad is going to have a battle pass, it was not going to be on my 2023 bingo card. It just
No,
wasn't. It's the way it was showcased and stuff. You don't think that, and it's just and most people, I think the industry and the community as a whole has kind of accepted that battle passes are the new style for supporting post launch, which is fine. But like, it doesn't need to be in every game. And if they can implement it and give us a reason to grind or a reason to invest in the battle pass and give us an end game where we want to keep coming back to the content, then hey, all good. But I think most of us have learned that a lot of studios, especially ones who have not done kind of live service, if you even want to call it that, in-game content titles, they generally don't nail it at launch. It takes them, 6 to 8 months to gather feedback, and then 6 to 8 months up to a year to implement that feedback. And so,
And then they're so behind putting new content into the game is
yeah.
even a bigger challenge.
So, and it's like, do you have the manpower to not only, you know, delegate to quality of life improvements, fixing your current product while also still developing and making newer content to be released down the line? I mean, if they got the confidence to be able to do that, then hey, all for them. But it's just sketchy. I don't like it.
you
But
bring up
the
a
hairs get up on the back of my neck whenever I saw that, and especially with them taking it down. I'm just like, I don't know. Like, so, but go
you
ahead.
bring up a great point with the grind. When I was talking about if they could figure out how to have a battle pass and the gameplay still feels good and all that stuff, I was not thinking about the grind. Now I'm thinking about the grind because, yeah, you got to figure out how you're going to implement a way for people to want to spend on the battle pass and then earn all the stuff. Or maybe now that I'm thinking about it, maybe they don't care about how far people progress just as long as you buy it. So, I don't.
Yeah, but you got to get them back for the second battle pass, though. That's the only big thing.
Yes. But it could be one of those things where it's like, ooh, I like what's in here, and then I don't really care about progressing it, kind of thing. I know I've fallen off a few battle passes just because it's like, okay, I'm done. I've gotten what I've gotten out of this, but
That one item.
yeah, exactly. So I hadn't considered that if this is going to feel more like a glorified single player game, it is scarier.
We'll see. Like I said, I need
Can you
more
make
info.
missions worth repeating? That's really what it boils down to.
It's possible. Borderlands does it. Destiny does it. Anthem didn't do it.
Yeah, that's the
They
problem,
really
though,
did
is
do
yeah. Anthem
It's
was
easy.
also developed primarily as a games as a service, so
It was. It was, but
I, it's just funny. Like it's. I hope that they take inspiration from the ones who have done it well, the Borderlands, the Destiny, and not from the bad ones. So that I hope that I want it to be a good product. I was looking forward to it. I'm now gonna wait, see how much content's there at launch. See how they're gonna implement everything. Um, but I mean, I still hope it does well. I think it'll be fine. But
They're the biggest problem is they are in the shadow of the bat. Like whatever happens with this, it's going to be measured up against Arkham Knight, the sales wise, and of course, obviously the prestige of that game. So I don't want to say they're fighting a losing battle, but to a degree, I feel like they are because I'm not sure that they can sell as well as that game. And it's an unfair comparison, yes, but it's a comparison that's going to happen whether they like it or not.
mm-hmm.
agreed. All right. Is that all the news we got? Is there anything else?
I mean, there's probably other news that we could
Like, I
search
could
up,
find
but those were
some.
big.
Yeah, I was like,
but that's a big first hour. I feel like.
yeah, there's some
Just
there's some
and that's just two
non-gaming stuff
subjects.
that just dropped, but yeah. So,
All right. Then let's move on to the games we've been playing. David, you've been working on a preview of a game we talked about in our top indies of,
Yes,
or
I
at least most anticipated indies of 2023. Go ahead, hit us with your.
Yes,
game.
I got the opportunity to preview Tchia. Funny enough, I had actually written up my preview during the time in which we were talking about these, so I was having to be very careful and hint at things.
You lied to us.
I had already played it as we were talking about most anticipated, and I'll be honest, it was not most anticipated until I played it. I kind of open the preview with that of, we see these cutesy games, we think they look neat, and we just kind of move about our day a lot of times. We don't always jump right on the, okay, this is something I want to play. But man, messing around with it, it's so wholesome and so much just fun to just run around and explore. I like the fact that, and you'll like the fact, Anthony, that there are no destructible weapons in it.
Hey, it's a
like,
great
yeah.
start.
For something that resembles Breath of the Wild, there are not destructible weapons.
I'm in.
It's also a bit more structured. It does have some map marker elements and such. So that's been a lot of fun to get to figure some of this out. What's really interesting with the map though is you aren't on the map. Like a lot of these Breath of the Wild likes, you see where you are on the map and you don't see nothing else on that big map. so at least you're like, yes, I can place myself. Tchia feels like it goes the opposite direction of, as you go by things, just walking around in the world, things will pop up on your map, as well as you can do kind of these Assassin's Creed kind of towers that will reveal things on the map. And you have no idea where the heck you are because you do not have a waypoint of yourself. You can just go by a "Where am I?" little button, and it'll give you kind of a general area of where you are. So what's been kind of neat has been just going around and looking and being like, okay, so obviously I'm up on this big hill, so I know where I should be roughly, but then I can use some of these items that I've walked past as markers on my map as, okay, I'm here. I'm at this location. And that's part of the charm of it because it's based on an actual real world location. This is actually a game made by only 9 people, and it's based off of I believe it's Caledonia is the name. And they've based a lot of the different locations and whatnot on this place where they lived on this little island in the Pacific. And just, it's really fun to run around and just look at these different landmarks and whatnot and use them to find my way around the world. And it's one of those things where I really want to know more about the story because they didn't give us a lot with that, because the wholesomeness and charm makes its way into that with this little girl that she just seems precious, and you just want to protect her at all costs. And some of the interactions she has with some of the different villagers and whatnot, it just made me just love this game all the more, because there was a part where this girl was going to get a chicken for you, because you that was part of the quest that I had spawned in on, is I needed a chicken, but she wanted you to meet her somewhere, and you go and meet her just up on this big mountain area, and you just sit there and you she sings a song and you play your ukulele to it, and that's literally what the mission is to go and
Hmm.
do that. And you do have the choice. One of the things I like is there is a bit of approachability with the game, in that they allow you to click a button and let the computer play the ukulele instead of you having to do the weapon wheel, go click the different notes.
Oh,
which
yeah.
which yeah which
Just see that in the
it's
trailer,
not
yeah.
hard to do, but it does go on for the song is not short, so that you get to a point sometimes you're like, okay, I'm just not, I'm tired of doing this. But it's such a beautiful little song, and it seems like that's going to be full on through this game. Like that's going to be a big part of it, and I just love it. And one of the things that we're seeing on the trailer right now is there's a soul jumping ability, and that's something that a lot of people probably saw and they're like, what the heck is going on, because there's so much that's happens in the Tchia trailers that you really have no idea what's happening. And the soul jumping I love because it's not an overpowered thing. It's not one of those things where you can just jump into anything and you're there for forever. It's actually, there is a meter that goes down, kind of like your stamina, that you have to keep an eye on, but it complements all the other abilities you have really well, because sometimes I'm just like, you know what, I don't want to go up this, I don't want to have to find a way up this cliff, so I'm just gonna soul jump into a bird and fly up there, and take advantage of that. Or one of the offerings that I was looking for was an egg, and I was getting frustrated because I couldn't find an egg. I'm like, I'm running around these chicken coops, I cannot find this. I don't know what I'm doing. And then all of a sudden I thought about it, like, okay, wait a second, and I soul jumped to the chicken, and one of my button prompts was lay an egg. So I hit that button and then soul jump back out and then pick the egg up, and boom, I'd accomplished that mission. So it was like all these little things that you're able to do in this game. And I am just ridiculously impressed that 9 people have put this together. Especially, I know you've seen it in the trailer last week and then this week. It is gorgeous. Like the game is just such,
Super.
it's a cartoony style, so it's not anything like super realistic or whatnot, but everything that's there looks so just beautiful. And it is they've said this is a love letter to that island, and it's a beautiful tribute that they've put together over at that team.
I,
It's just awesome.
I like the sound of it. I don't remember if I said this on air last week, but you talk about how you don't see yourself on the map, and I brought up Thomas guides. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys know what Thomas guides are, but there's before Google Maps, there was the Thomas guide, these little spiral bound books that had detailed maps kind of gridded out of cities and neighborhoods. So before you, if I wanted to go to a different state I didn't know how to get to, and then had to go into a neighborhood, I would have to use a Thomas guide to figure out what freeway connected through that state. And then, obviously I know my city, so I can go onto that freeway. But then I have to use the Thomas guide to figure out what exit, and then use it to figure out, okay, where's the house and which turns do I need to take and all of that. So you don't see yourself when you're looking
Yep.
at the Thomas guide. You got to look at all the context clues and the landmarks that you're passing by and figure out where you are at. That's what this sounds like. So
Yep.
to all
And
those
we've
people
and I
who are
didn't even play the full game. I didn't even play the full like island area that they had available. So it's even bigger.
yeah.
Than what I've got to play.
So I imagine, unlike real life, where there aren't um, created and I guess created landmarks to help you figure out where you're at. I imagine Chia has some of that, so it's easier to figure out where you're at based on certain landmarks or items you place it, whatever the case may be. So I don't, it sounds weird, but it also sounds very interesting. Maybe it's calling back to, my older self and my younger self. I'm older, but remembering using Thomas guides and looking at these things like, where are we, mommy? But
Well,
I think it's an interesting way to do that.
and the fun thing is it wasn't frustrating. Like
That's
that's the
good.
biggest thing is if you can implement a feature like that and it's not frustrating, then you're doing your job right because you've managed to both give me the Breath of the Wild experience, but also managed to keep things structured so that I still know where I'm trying to go. I've got to figure out how to get there, as opposed
Yeah.
to as opposed to figure out what you're doing. Like
Yes.
being that open. This is okay. Here's where you need to go. You figure out how to get there.
Where Breath of the Wild doesn't lead you to anywhere, this
Yeah.
at least gives you the spot, but still allows you to have to search it out. It's not
Yeah.
just go there. I like that change. That's a
Yep.
different approach. I like that. Do you have any reactions, Noah?
It just looks like a relaxing time, like one of those like de-stressing kind of games where you can just you know hop on and just chillax and just kind of explore and experience it and not be action everywhere and constantly stressing about which
Yeah.
decision or the fight. So it definitely is one of those. For me, it's I talked about it with the Plucky Squire, which we showed last week, but it's one of those. It's a good, I call them like break games where it breaks up the monotony of like these big AAA open world, action, straight up, always in, and it just gives you a break to kind of chill and relax and do your own thing in a, trying to think of the right word. You don't feel like pressured to beat the game in a timely fashion, and
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to it just for that aspect. That's what's really intriguing me, and I do like the non-destructible weaponry, much like Anthony. So
Yeah.
that's always
And
good
it
to hear.
and it is very chill. Even the combat encounters are very not frustrating or not intensive, should I say, would be the best word for it.
How's the score for it? Like chip
Well,
score?
it's just
Music.
oh, the score. It's very minimal. Like it's not necessarily Breath of the Wild minimal. There's
Just
still
ambient.
plenty of kind of. I guess a good way you could put it is like it's got those kind of the island kind of flutes in the background.
Okay.
Like I know it's
Okay.
there, but it kind of, if it makes sense, it fades into the background to a degree as you're playing the game, so you stop thinking about it. But not in a bad way of stop thinking about it. Like it just
Compliments it.
becomes a part. It becomes a part of what you're doing. So
I think the immersion aspect too really seems like it's top notch.
and I would imagine, especially since they're pushing this to be this, like I said, this tribute to where they lived. That's part of why it's so immersive. But I believe they actually, all of the devs ended up flying out there to take a look at it and talk to the locals. One of the things that's actually really charming about the game that I didn't know that it was going to feel that way at first is the entire game is spoken in the Drehu language. So
Mm.
there's no English audio or anything like that. It's all subtitled, so you are reading subtitles, and that's people who've listened to this podcast know I am not a subtitle person. I do not want to read as I'm trying to pay attention to something. But this game, because of just how cutesy and whimsical and wholesome that it had me hooked on still paying attention to it, and it obviously adds a lot to the way the presentation is.
Yeah, I mean that's a Zelda concept where you see
Yep.
the text pop up and you hear the gibberish that they talk. They don't have a language; it's all gibberish. So this they took that concept and we're like, we could do that with our own language and just have this the text there. That
No.
yeah, that's a great
And,
way to implement that.
and as far as I remember reading, it's all actually people from New Caledonia. They had local talents do the voices. So
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool.
Nice. All right. So that was Chia. I
and it will be
can't wait to
out
play
this
that one
spring. Yes, out
in
this
the
spring.
spring.
It is coming to PC as well as to PlayStation platforms.
It's not coming to Switch. Interesting.
Not
Feel
right
like
off the bat, at least.
oh,
That screams
fascinating.
Switch title to me.
It
Yeah.
it does. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say when I watch it, I actually haven't listened to this trailer with the audio yet. When I watch it, I just feel Wind Waker when you're in the open world on the seas or like the island. Like I just hear
Yeah.
the wind. I can feel the, just the like Noah said, the chills of it. I'm not the biggest Wind Waker fan. I think it's a fine game, but uh, that game can be very relaxing when you're out of the combat, just kind of out in the seas, just exploring. It could put you to sleep in a good way because it's
Yeah.
just so like it's so chill.
Put you at
That's what this
ease.
game
Put
feels
you at
like.
ease.
Yeah, it puts you at ease. That's what this feels like. From again, I can just hear from the sound effects down to the look to what you're doing. It it has that kind of inspiration behind that. I think that's a good thing. All right. Noah, what have you been playing?
Much like the series and the manga, I've been playing the long running game that is One Piece Odyssey. It is a
Yeah.
legitimate Odyssey. Um, I am about, I would say, 30 hours in, and I am just at chapter 3. So yeah, prepare like most JRPGs. You're going to be here for a while. I'm playing One Piece Odyssey. If you couldn't guess by the length of the show that I referenced. So the funny thing, like David, you would not like this game because it is entirely subtitled. There is no English dub, which I'm perfectly fine with. I've watched the entire series subbed, and I'm great because they brought all of the voice actors, the original cast, everybody's come in to
Hmm.
do lines and voice work, which just makes the game that much S tier, in my opinion, when they do that.
Did they
So
did they have they done that for previous One Piece games?
I would have. I
Or
have.
if you
This is
if you've
my
played them.
first. This is
Oh,
my
okay.
first because
Okay. All right. Never
whenever
mind.
I've only been into the series for about 2.5 years.
Ah, okay,
I
gotcha.
I had back surgery and was out of work. Was going to be like off work for like a month and a half, and I've been waiting to binge One Piece because I knew how long. I was like, I'm gonna have to sit down and just wait for a stretch of time. Luckily, I had that stretch of time, and in about a month and a half, I binged the entire series. Because when you're bedridden, basically, there's not much more I can do besides watch the
Yeah.
show. Um, but yeah, so story wise, this is a great pickup for anyone. Not only if you're a hardcore fan of the series like I am, but also if you're new to One Piece or are interested in the franchise, this is great for you because it's kind of like the Spark Note catch up. So they're going through at least three. I believe there's four because they've shown clips. I don't know how in depth they're going to go into each arc, but major arcs throughout the series that don't happen exactly as they did in the show, but slight variations. And it's because through the story plot line, they're reliving their memories. And as we all know, sometimes memories of past events for all of us are a little fuzzy. They might not be exactly as they actually happened at that time. Um, that being said, story so far is great. It's well written, um, but that's not the best part. The best part is the characters. The characters are tried and true. The exact way that they act, their personalities, even the tropes is straight from the source material. So it's a carbon copy. What you're getting in the game is exactly what they're like in the show and the manga, which was a big thing for me. I'm like, how are they going to translate that? Are they going to put in all the inside jokes, which is a big staple of the franchise, such as um, Sanji, who is the cook, the blonde-haired fellow. He can't attack women, or he won't, because he's the gentleman character. He won't attack women. And in the game, when you encounter female, bandits, pirates with his character, you cannot attack them. So little things like that I appreciate. People who don't know the source material, they'll be like, "Why?" But it's good for us hardcore. That I really appreciate.
Is that something that's introduced in the game, but not necessarily expounded on?
It doesn't say. Yeah, it doesn't really say. Just like, oh, you can attack with this character. So it's kind of like that. If you know, you know.
Huh. I wonder why they did that. Interesting.
For me, who's like, oh, I get why. I'm the Leonardo meme. Where I'm like, oh yeah, that's.
Oh yeah, sure, I understand that. But I think from a gameplay perspective, I still think it's funny and cool whether you've been following the series or not.
Or not, yeah.
If it's introduced in the game.
One of the things, I don't know if they just forgot to put in, but like Zoro, who is their swordsman, he is horrible with directions. And you can swap between each character when you're running around. I really would have liked for them to have, whenever you select him to explore with, if your mini map would have went away. I think that would have been a great feature.
Sounds like Zoro needs a Thomas guide.
He really do. Speaking of exploration, it's not open world by all means. If you've played a JRPG, the linear paths that you have to follow. The dungeons are pretty. For those who have never played one, played a JRPG or an RPG like this caliber, not an open world, not even open area. There's specific paths that you'll go through, a lot of streets, a lot of corridors, stuff like that. So if that's your thing, great. If not, get used to it. That's what this game is.
So Tales of Arise, let alone the Tales of series, it can be loosely like open, but not really. Is it that, or is it really that linear?
It's very linear. Like you'll have
interesting
different paths in the city. A lot of these places take place in the city. So like Alabasta, Water 7, those you're mostly in the city for majority of the arc. So it's a lot of streets and alleys and stuff like that. You're not really in a big field, or even the dungeons, like you're on specific pathways when you're walking. There are certain like nooks and crannies that you can explore and find items with to craft. But that's basically it. If you want a big explorative, like trying to think
go wherever
like
you want.
Tales. Yeah, no, it's not how it is.
Well, Tales, you can't even go wherever you want, really.
It's a little bit bigger. Like some of the areas in Tales of Arise I appreciated.
Yeah, they're big.
Like now playing One Piece Odyssey, I'm like, this is one straight path. Which is fine because the skyboxes and the environments themselves are very well done. I would have liked more density in terms of like random individuals in the towns, but that's could be a tech issue. It's hard to tell. And then next I want to talk about the combat, because with JRPGs you got to have good combat because you're going to be doing a lot of
looking
battles.
Forward to this.
So
do tell.
It's a variation of the grid system, like that you've seen in like Fire Emblems and other turn-based JRPGs. This one is much like the game, an entry level. If you're new to JRPGs or want to get into this genre, this is not a bad one to pick up because there is no difficulty setting. It's one difficulty, but it's very easy. The game is very casual. So your grid system, you have 4 to your party, and it's for the crew members. at any time. You can swap out basically whenever, which I really appreciate. And then from there, it's got a rock, paper, scissors loop. So you have power, technique, and speed. Um, Technique is strong against power. Power is strong against speed, and speed is strong against technique. So it's got the loop. Each character has their own style that they use. So, like I said, very basis to some of the more complex JRPGs that we've seen. So that is the core of the gameplay loop. There's a lot of battles, like a lot. I'm into chapter 2, and I've probably hit around 100 battles already,
Are
which
they
is a
random
lot.
encounters or
You
staged?
can so you'll again, if you never played a JRPG, generally you'll have like character models in the world or in your
Okay.
path, and you can run up to them, and that'll initiate the encounter, or you can just
One of the
bypass
ways.
them and run away.
Okay.
Yeah, and so from there, and it's good because you want to get XP because you're trying to level up. It's a JRPG. You unlock new abilities. All of the abilities are actual attacks and powers that the Straw Hats themselves use. So, like I said, carbon copy from the anime to the game. Um, the last thing that I got from my early on is kind of like what I said before, and while I kind of rounded off my rants about how much I love One Piece, it's a tried and true representation of the characters, the world, the lore, even the combat. Is it a good One Piece game? Yes, because of the source material and their inspiration. But is it a good JRPG game? I would say a good starter JRPG game. If you're wanting
Okay.
an experienced JRPG player like myself who loves like the different tactical elements, having to think and there to be consequence, for your decisions, you're not going to get that out of One Piece. But then again, that kind of represents the franchise because One Piece is it's not an adventure anime or it's not an action anime, it's an adventure anime. It's not meant to be a hard, you know, struggle. It's meant to be a
Full Metal
relaxing.
Alchemist.
Yeah, it's not. So it's a good intro. Like if you are someone who wants to get into the genre, this is a good starting point. Much like the fairy tale game that came out a couple years ago. Pretty easy entry into the JRPG genre with having a license behind it. So it, like I said, I'm now in Water 7. I think they're going to go through Marineford and then Dressrosa. So there are 4 big arcs that that they'll give you the spark notes of the series. So if you are like, hey, I'd like to learn about One Piece, but you don't want to watch 1,000 episodes, you can get the spark notes in a probably a because I'm going for the platinum, so I'm doing every single little side mission, scurrying around. It's probably gonna be about a 50 to 60 hour experience. So if you can catch up on One Piece up to the Wano arc, I think that's a pretty good little Spark Notes, Cliff Notes shortcut to the intro to the series.
Do you think if somebody like myself who has had no interest in One Piece, I watched a couple of episodes and felt this wasn't for me, but I've heard a lot of people say you got to get past the first season. You got to get past the first season, you'll be hooked. I haven't had the time to watch it. So I've always had a little bit of interest of like, all right, I'll figure out a way to squeeze One Piece in at some point. This will be the game. So for me, who pretty much knows nothing about it, if I skipped side quests and things like that, would I still get a good feel for the game, or do I really need to do side quests as well in order to get the whole even the whole Spark Notes version of this
No,
franchise?
like that's the side quest, and then it's a show about pirates. There are wanted bounties that you can go and collect to get currency. The side quests, it's almost like little Easter eggs. Like you'll go and they'll mention something, and you'll be like, oh, as an anime manga reader, I was like, oh, I get that.
Okay.
I understand that, but it's not. The really nice thing is that the core of the story is literally in like the main quest that it gives you for each
Okay.
area. So
That's good.
it's not something that like it's hard to pick up, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's not a One Piece is not a complicated story. It's a rubber boy who wants to be king of the pirates. It's not a hard concept. It really isn't. But I think it's a good intro because it doesn't overload you with info. You know, there's been 1,000+ chapters uh, of this show. There's a lot of info, but it also makes it very approachable and accessible to people who it's like, hey, this is the bare bones of these characters' personalities. And from there, I think it's pretty easy to make a judgment on whether you're going to like the characters in the show or not. And it doesn't change up their character styles. They stay true to themselves the entire way. So yeah, it's very approachable, accessible, all of the best of both worlds, really. It doesn't do one thing particularly great in the sense of gameplay, but it doesn't need to.
Doesn't suck at anything either.
No, it does what I think their goal was to do, and it's make a good game for the fans, but also give people an access point into the franchise.
Okay.
Because I easily think someone could play this game, and yeah, they've gotten the Spark Notes, the shortcut of all these big arcs that take hundreds of episodes to go through, but it could let them know, hey, do I want to put the time investment into the show? Because it's a shonen. It's gonna take you around 50+ episodes to get hooked. That's generally shonens. 25 to 50 episodes get you hooked. So this is a much easier access point, I think, because you're not just sitting at home watching a TV. You're actually getting to play and engage with the product.
This sounds good for me. I put this game on the watch list. All right. So I wanted to know if it was good. Sounds like it's okay. Sounds like it's okay. So
it's like I said, I could
well.
just rant about One Piece. So, but that's just a general One Piece connoisseur. It's like, okay, shut up about One Piece now. It's okay. There are other things besides One Piece.
Good somebody. At some point, I will talk about my experience as a non-One Piece person. So
I'm very curious to hear your take and your thoughts on it as someone who is using this as an access entry point versus someone who's like picking this up because I just want more One Piece.
Well, yeah, I'm also curious looking at it from the perspective of I like JRPGs. Is this a good JRPG to just play something right now? I don't have any JRPGs.
It's
so
fun.
It sounds like it's kind of not for like JRPG players in that way.
Yeah, if you're like the elitist, like Fire Emblem hardcore, no death runs kind of player, no, you're gonna get bored real quick.
Or your Tales of Arise players, your Xena Blade Gears, all that. Doesn't sound like it, but that's why I want to know.
The difficulty has scaled. It has gotten a little bit more difficult. In like chapter 3, some of the enemies they do hit a little bit harder and stuff.
You're also doing everything. I'm not going to do everything, so I'm curious to know how we view that difficulty.
How the power scaling.
Yeah, because you're trying to platinum. I'm not going to waste my time doing that, so I'm going to go straight through the main story. Yeah, so I'm curious to know, is the game really that easy, or obviously in a JRPG, if you do everything, it's going to be much easier to get through.
Yeah, and we talked about this before. I'm the kind of player where it's like, hey, you need to go do this for the next chapter, and I'll literally turn the other way and go complete everything else before I move on. So that also probably makes things a little bit easier.
All right, that is One Piece Odyssey. Very good. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I can get I'm waiting for Gamefly to put it in my shipment, send it to me, but right now it's on low status, which means a lot of people have rented it, so I might have to wait for a little while. All right, My game that I've been playing is a game called KartRider Drift. So there's a franchise called KartRider, made in Korea. They have made mobile games. They finally have put a game out for PC. So when I was looking at it, it looked pretty good. I put it on the watch list. I said, you should waste your time with this based on what I have seen. So I played it. I got it wrong. No, I failed on that one. Shouldn't have put it on the watch list. So sorry,
There's
guys.
a driving duck.
We're driving cactus too. Thankfully, it's free to play, so you don't lose any money off of my suggestion. But it's bland. It's soulless. It is fun. I especially had more fun playing with my brother, who also happened to download it. So I saw him online and we played. So it's fine. It's got good modes. There's good stuff in it. There's just not enough seasoning on it. It makes me appreciate Mario Kart a whole lot more. Because I've realized
not a long track.
no, it is not. And to be fair, Mario Kart not all the tracks in Mario Kart are long, but yes, it's also a mobile game. So keep in mind, fast races. Everything's got to be decently fast for those short attention span mobile players. But I do feel like it's not so mobile oriented that it doesn't belong on PC. It feels like it does belong on PC.
It's just a free to play game.
Free to play game made by Nexon. You know what you're getting with that. So yeah, I never really thought about what makes Mario Kart so great until I started playing this. And I was like, this is missing something. I don't know what it's missing. It's missing all the flair and pizzazz Mario Kart possesses.
The spice.
Yes.
Mario Kart. Do you think that's more because of Mario specifically, or do you think that that's something that they could add in without that the branded characters?
No, they got added in. The branded characters, it brings it down, but it doesn't defeat it. It's everything else as well. The sound effects aren't, juicy enough. The visual effects aren't really there. The details within the track. It's a nice looking game, but there's just no flair to it. I think back to Mario Kart 64, and you're in Luigi's Raceway, and as you're going into the brick tunnel, you see yourself on the screen, or whoever's in first. Like, you're in Wario Stadium. You see a giant screen. You hear the crowd cheering. You get hit by a shell. This is nice smash, boom, all these kind of sound effects that just amp up the feel of what you're doing. Because Nintendo realizes this is a driving game. Not a whole lot of people really like driving games. So how can we pizzazz this thing up? That's not what Nexon was thinking with KartRider. This is you're driving, and there's some stuff going on, and it's fun, but it doesn't really have that juice on it. You don't feel like you're going that fast, except maybe when you're boosting. The drifting kind of feels like you're just sliding across the ground. It doesn't feel like there's any like kinetic physics going on, So there's just those little details end up bringing down the fun of it all. The tracks themselves, very easy. Not a lot to them. Apparently, there are some more difficult tracks in the challenges section, but they're not in the matchmaking. I don't know why. So
that's weird.
Yeah. So you're always queuing up on the easy stuff. And I'm like, dude, first of all, Mario Kart players are trying this out. They know tough tracks. They've been through it all. Mario Kart 8 has some very interesting, wildly and awkward tracks. Like that's Rainbow Road, no guardrails. Like we know tough tracks. So it's weird that they don't have those tracks available in matchmaking. Maybe I'm missing something on that, but it certainly brings down the experience. The items are generally interesting. There's just not a lot of them. So you keep seeing the same stuff repeated over and over. That part also brings it down. The most interesting part to me that kind of drew me in was the fact that they literally have a mode set for no items. So more so for competitive people. This is where the drift part really comes in. You have this meter fills up as you're driving, and they call it speed mode. And so when you're in speed mode, you can get up to 2 boosts when your boost meter fills up. So if you drift, it fills up faster. But while you're boosting, it doesn't fill up at all. So you have to drift to fill it up while you're boosting. So it's very like tactical. You have to think about, okay, when do I drift through the corner? Do I drift in the corner here? Do I boost and drift at the same time? Those kind of things, because you want to make sure you're getting as many boosts as possible to obviously get around the track faster. So it is thoughtful. It just doesn't feel great. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's fun. It functions. It just doesn't feel great. It doesn't have that. So it feels old after a while. And then with the tracks being so easy, you almost feel like, yeah, okay, I'm going through it. What you see right now, there's little humps here and there, but for the most part, it's flat. There's not
you know
many,
what to expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can kind of figure out where to drift pretty quickly. Not saying it doesn't take skill to maximize the efficiency of getting around the track. There's definitely that. But for me, I'm like, I feel like I know exactly where I want to drift, how I want to drift. Executing it is a different story. But in Mario Kart, I feel like even though it's become even more casual compared to a Mario Kart Double Dash or Mario Kart DS, I still have trouble every once in a while figuring out the best way to drift around certain turns. I have to run the track a few times. So This was like, oh, I kind of picked this up really quick. So that doesn't help its case. And then the battle pass doesn't feel satisfying. It's one of those battle passes where your progression is only through completing challenges. You don't get extra progression for just playing the game. So once you run out of challenges for the week or for the day, you're just stuck. So it's not a long battle pass. It's $5, 40 tracks. So it's not long. I don't remember how long it lasts, but the items you get aren't really that interesting too. I got boost colors. I like that. I like my boost to look different. That's cool. Okay. But then I feel like that's mostly what I get. I don't care about creating emblems. You can create your own custom emblems. I know people would like that. I don't. So that's useless to me. There's in-game currency you can get. I don't even know what to do with it. I have 17,000 coins. I go to the shop and everything is used by real money currency. I'm like, where's the stuff I can use for the in-game currency?
Yep.
So I don't know if it's not in there yet. Whatever the case may be, it's not there now. So that's a knock against it. I have heard this is preseason. So still though, give me something I can use my currency on.
Yep.
So
I was actually going to say, like, looking at this, like, you're talking about like pizzazz and detail and stuff. It looks like all the detail, at least in my mind, was the characters and the cars in the microtransactions. So that seems like where you'll get that's what they're doing is they're like, if you want the pizzazz, if you want the details, we're going to put it all into what you can pay for.
Yeah. And really that's not even really that much pizzazz to it.
Yeah. It just feels a lot more detailed when I look at all of it comparatively, like some of the carts and characters.
And you said that the battle pass, the way you gain XP and progress through it is through challenges and not just playing. Did I hear that right?
You get in-game currency when you play. The higher you place, the more in-game currency you get, up to 100 basically. Okay. But I think you can only get 4,000 coins a day. Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah.
Next on.
Like something like Fortnite where they had done challenges like land at this place and stuff like that. Like that I had fun with. I don't know how that works right in a kart racer, if that makes sense.
The challenges are really simple. Complete 9 races. Complete X amount of races in this specific mode. It's nothing like win, X amount of races. It's really, the challenges are basically play the game. And you will earn the challenges eventually, which is nice. And it took me about, I would say it probably took me, let's see, I've played for 7 hours, so maybe 2 hours to knock out every single challenge available, premium challenges, daily challenges. So if you really do enjoy playing this game, yeah, you'll knock out the challenges pretty quick. But it's like, hey, you like playing the game, so here's some stuff.
It just throws you off a little bit compared to how battle passes are usually just flat out XP based.
Well, it's a bummer when you
Yeah.
know you're just playing, especially if you're one of those people who play to unlock stuff. I mean, you're done for the week. You know, your
Yeah.
dailies you can knock out in probably 30 minutes if you're real good. So it's a dud there. You can earn emotes in the battle pass. I don't, whatever. You see those at the trophy screen. Okay, really use those. So to me, all I want is the carts and the character skins. And those aren't, there's not a lot of those in the battle pass. So I paid $5 for it. Whatever. I'm fine. It was throwaway money. So I just wanted to try it out. It's fine. It's not a terrible game. There is fun in it. It's not Mario Kart. It just doesn't have that spice on it.
And for me, like, the game, it's called, KartRider Drift. I'm just not seeing a ton of drifting as much as I would think if you're going to put that in your title.
Well,
like,
to be fair, I am not the best like KartRider drifter. So this is like super early gameplay for me. Within like the first hour I was playing, so I'm getting used to it. If I can speed it up, but
I just mean for like course layout. I feel like there should be a lot more turns. There seems to be a lot of straightaways.
Well, this is what I'm saying. All the more difficult courses are behind the challenges. So okay. The matchmaking is all the simple courses.
Okay.
So yes, that's why there's a lot of straights, really short turns, no real S turns, things like that. So
okay.
I appreciate the thought put into the strategy behind drifting and earning boosts. I think that's the most interesting part. It's not interesting enough to make me want to keep playing. So that's KartRider Drift. All right.
That is
fun stuff.
Yeah.
That's it. That's good.
Woo.
Liked it. So that will do it for us. Appreciate you watching and listening. We will be back next week. No David, though, because you're going on a cruise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna rest and relax.
Yes. Go get that.
Before all them first part of the year video games start coming in.
Yep. Because February is hot. It's coming in. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will talk to you later.